So have you got the goods? Been wondering if your heart's still open, and if so, I wanna know what time it should. Simmer down and poker up. I'm sorry to interrupt, it's just I'm constantly on the cusp. I've tried and to kiss you. I don't know if you...
Hello, and a hearty welcome to the Aerostar community. Every airplane seems to have its cult following, and the Aerostar is certainly no exception. And for good reason. Most of us who fly the Aerostar have fallen in love with the airplane. The fact that it's the fastest piston twin in the world doesn't hurt either. In fact, it's faster than some turboprop twins. But it's more than that. The ergonomics of the flight deck combined with the heavy wing loading make it very jet-like to fly. And yet, it is surprisingly responsive for a 6,000 plus pound airplane. The systems are easily managed once you have a thorough understanding of them. And for the proficient aviator, its single-engine manners are really quite tame. My own introduction to this fantastic airplane came in early 1992, back when I still had hair. I had just barely soloed a 172 when someone offered me the right seat in a 700 to go have breakfast. The feel of 700 horsepower accelerating us down the runway and the incredible speed left me awestruck. Our approach speed was faster than the 172's cruise speed. I was also quite impressed with how nimble the controls felt in my hot little hands. I was hooked for life. I'm sure you have your own reasons why you love your Aerostar. By the time you're finished with this training, you will understand the systems of your airplane inside and out, giving you the ability not only to fly proficiently even when things go wrong, but in many cases to tell your mechanic exactly what the problem is when you taxi up to the maintenance hangar. There is also a section entitled, "What does right look like?" Here, we will talk about all the maneuvers you will be flying for initial and recurrent training, explaining proper flying technique and the standards to be met as defined by the FAA's Airman Certification Standards, or ACS. Then, we will demonstrate each maneuver from 5 different camera angles, allowing you to ride along during a typical training flight in the Aerostar. This will give you clear insight into how your training will proceed and exactly what is expected of you. Finally, we will hear from a few pilots who have experienced various emergencies in their Aerostar, and we will extract lessons that we can take with us into our own flying. In just a moment, I'll deliver some yap that will familiarize you generally with the airplane. Subsequent videos will delve into each system in great detail. But before I introduce you to the airplane, let me introduce myself. I'm Mark Henschel. I have a background of airline flying as well as charter and corporate flying. I have taught extensively all certificate levels, specializing in instrument and multi-engine, as well as tailwheel and competition aerobatics. Currently, I fly this Aerostar professionally. I am also an A&P mechanic, and part of my job description is maintaining this airplane. In fact, the Aerostar you see behind me is undergoing an annual inspection as we speak, which means it's opened up such that you and I can take a thorough look under the skin to see how she is constructed and how the systems all interact. This training is based largely on the Aerostar training manual provided by the Aerostar Owners Association. It contains over 400 pages and is encyclopedic in its scope of information about this unique airplane. Be sure and download a copy for reference. Let's dive in. The Aerostar is an all-metal, 6-place, fully retractable, tricycle gear, mid-wing, twin-engine monoplane of semi-monocoque construction. If that doesn't sound like a soundbite, I don't know what does. Almost all rivets are flush rivets. There's nothing unusual about either the materials used or the construction methods to build the airplane. The airplane does use thicker skins than normal for an airplane of this size. This may be due in part to the vision of the original designer, Ted Smith, of producing a jet-powered version of the airplane. Well, that never happened, but the heritage is still there. One helpful feature is that the cabin has a uniform cross-section throughout the length of the cabin, meaning your backseat passengers have the same amount of room as the pilot. The Aerostar has not necessarily been accused of being a very roomy airplane, but at least it's the same amount of room for every seat. Of course, its smallish overall cross-section is one of the secrets to its fantastic speed. There were a couple of different seating arrangements available, as shown in the Aerostar training manual. The wing has two main spars which extend full span and are continued through the fuselage by means of a wing carry-through center section. There's an additional rear spar extending from wing root to tip, providing mounting points for aileron and flap surfaces. The wing structure outboard of the engines is sealed to form fuel tanks. Flaps are single-slotted Fowler types, and the ailerons are Freese types with 3 hinges. The horizontal and vertical tail assemblies are all interchangeable. The heater air intake scoop is incorporated into the dorsal fin. Want even more gee-whiz factoids about the Aerostar? Check out Chapter 1 in the Aerostar training manual entitled Familiarization. It has everything from V-speeds to limitations to dimensions to fluid capacities and other minutiae. Let's talk for a moment regarding the differences between various Aerostar models and how that will affect your training. There are unpressurized models and pressurized, some are turbocharged and some are not. And there are a dizzying amount of modifications that have been done over the years in endless different combinations. It would be virtually impossible to talk about every variation of Aerostar out there. However, rest assured that this is not a major impediment to receiving good systems and flight training. At its core, the basic design of the airplane remains unchanged. Systems-wise, the various iterations of Aerostars have far more in common than they have differences. The hydraulic system, fuel system, electrical system, flight controls, and basic power plant design are nearly identical across the fleet. Where practical, we will talk about some of the more common differences. The Aerostar training manual also covers this to some degree. But the best way for you to be sure that your training is tailored to your aircraft is to consult your POH, including any airplane flight manual supplements dealing with modifications that you have installed. Also critical is to consult with the instructor who will be flying with you to be sure he or she can customize your training to fit your needs. Differences in flight characteristics between models are subtle for the most part. Speeds and power settings will vary, but your instructor can help you dial things in accordingly. The first system we will discuss in the next chapter is hydraulics. From here on out, there will be a quiz at the end of each chapter to document your progress through the ground school portion of this training. Each quiz will be corrected to 100%, meaning if you get a question wrong, the correct answer will be immediately displayed so you can correct it in your mind and get it right on the next quiz attempt. Also, on many of the questions, clarifying notes will be displayed to help deepen your understanding of why a particular answer is correct or provide operational reasons for certain procedures. Be sure to check these notes as they are effective teaching tools to help you maximize learning. Now that you've completed this first chapter on Aerostar familiarization, there's a short survey so we can learn a little bit about your current flying experience, which model Aerostar you're flying, what avionics are installed, and what your flying goals are. This way your training can be custom tailored to fit your needs and desires. Go ahead and complete that survey now. Hey, we'll see you in the next chapter.